Go.
Hi, I'm Hakeem Oluseyi of the Science Channel.
And I'm Phil Plait from Crash Course Astronomy. And you're watching
Something About Honey.
I think he means pure natural honey.
You're watching pure natural honey.
Pure natural honey.
It's sweet and delicious.
It's natural. It comes out of a bee. I think they throw it up, don't they?
Yes,
I
it's
think that's
vomit,
how
bee
that works.
vomit.
It's
I
bee
think so.
vomit, yeah.
Yeah, scientifically proven.
It's good in tea.
So that just happened. NBD. Vloggy vlog, vloggy vlog. I have a vloggy vlog. Yay! Are you really surprised at how I did my titles? No. Okay, so it actually really is a big deal. While on the outside I appear to be calm and collected, on the inside there's a little honey in my brain doing something like this. Oh my god, 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 oh my god. Okay, so who are those guys and why am I so pumped right now that instead of like taking the time to think things through and work on my lighting and stuff, I just sat down and was like, I need to talk about this stuff. Why am I so pumped right now? So there was a free lecture at my alma mater, FIT, and as soon as I heard about it and had these two awesome scientists there, I was like, oh my gosh, must go. So Dr. Hakeem Oluseyi, he is actually a professor at FIT. He's currently on sabbatical working as the Martin Luther King Jr. Fellow up at MIT. Fancy. As he mentioned in the intro, he is on the Science Channel. He's been on the Discovery Channel before. He's done tons of interviews other places. He's like super like famous and awesome in that regard. The reason why I know him is because of him working at FIT as a professor a couple years ago when I was working in the biology department as like the outreach technician. I was working on this little film called Antarctica, The Hunt for Killer Crab, and he did the voiceover, so we got to know each other through doing all that, and I spent many an hour listening to his very melodious voice talk about king crabs taking over the Antarctic benthic ecology system. Amazing. And then Dr. Phil Plait, he is a super cool astronomer who's been in the field for a pretty long time, and years ago, back before blogging was ever a thing, he started a blog called Bad Astronomer, and it took off, and since then he's done so many other cool things, and as he mentioned, he's currently has this YouTube show called Crash Course Astronomy. You should totally check it out if you haven't. It's really super cool. And so both of them are very important scientists in their field, but I was particularly excited about them coming to FIT because of them being so prolific in the science communication front. So the first part of the lecture was admittedly one of those things where I was like, okay, as a biologist, I'm interested in this, but you know, it's not biology, but they were so entertaining and fun that it was just like really cool to hear about all the things that they had to say. And so I'm like sitting there, like furiously taking notes and trying to be like, I totally understand what you're talking about, kind of. But then like I would like write something and then they would say something and be like, no, did I miss, So, but the gist of a lot of the stuff, they were super funny and so entertaining. As I said, I was trying to live tweet at the time, not so good at the Twitter. So it was cool for me to take some of the quotes and share them with people on my newsfeed, like the 5 people who actually look at my Twitter. Honey D. Whitney, by the way, if you want to follow me. So, blah, blah, blah. My thoughts are so scattered, but some of the topics they talked about were, you know, things falling from the sky and how it always seems to be caught on camera on a Russian dash cam, or things like the expansion of the universe, Big Bang Theory. But one of the main takeaways I took from their overall talk in astronomy topics was about how mistakes in science are sometimes more important for forwarding our understanding than just being right all the time. So it was led from a discussion about some people reporting about certain things being a signal for the expansion of the universe, and how ultimately, well, it turned out to be things like dust. And then they started talking about Hubble and how he was calculating things and ended up being wrong by orders of magnitude about the universal expansion. But because of his work, that's why we have things like the Hubble telescope and how we now know so much about our universe. So I thought it was a really important lesson and not just in science, but in life in general, about how a lot of times you learn the most by making mistakes and going forward from there. And that kind of led then into the topic about science communication, which, as I said, I love astronomy and I love so many topics in science, but the science communication part was the meat and potatoes for me when it came to this particular lecture. And it only lasted like 10 or 15 minutes, which I was like, ah. So we get to the end, and they're talking about all these different things especially about the gap that we have in scientific understanding and public knowledge in this country and how we can try to bridge that gap. And one of the things that I think really resonated with me was talking about how people identify themselves. So a lot of times when you're talking to someone about science and you're trying to get them to understand a topic, they might take it as an attack on who they are as a person, as opposed to you trying to argue with them about facts and ideas. They're taking it as like a personal affront to their belief system, because a lot of people don't believe that they're scientists. They don't self-identify as a scientist, and they think that, as a scientist coming in, you're just saying, oh, well, you can't, how come you don't understand this? Well, I thought that was particularly well said in many ways, because even as someone who has paid lots of money, so many loans, for a degree in science, and I have 2 degrees in science, how even I struggle with identifying and saying, I am a scientist, and how it can be, I never really thought of it as the fact that a lot of people also, or that a lot of people don't think of themselves as being a scientist, and therefore they just give up on trying to understand anything related to science. There's a quote that was like kind of sparked by all this that I remembered, and it's by Carl Sagan, and it goes something along the lines of, every kid starts out as a natural born scientist, and then we beat it out of them. A few trickle through the system with their wonder and enthusiasm for science intact. Pretty sure that's how it goes. And it's so unfortunately true. We all start out questioning things all the time. I'm sure any parent of any toddler who can speak knows that there's all these questions of how and why and what's going on and blah, blah, blah. And after a while, we, as a society, we tell people to stop questioning things. And, I've done that myself, where I've been in class and sometimes people ask me a question and I just brush it off because I'm like, too many questions. And so we get people to be disinterested in science by squashing that natural curiosity that they have about our universe, about how our world works, about whatever topic that they're passionate or were passionate about. And so that led to, at the end of the discussion, talking about science communication and how to be a better communicator. So they had a question and answer session, and I pretty much hustled my way up to the microphone so that I could be the first person in line. Sorry, high school kids that they were encouraging to ask questions. I was first. I made it. And this led me to asking the question about how we can be better science communicators, how we can bridge the gap between people who unfortunately identify themselves as non-scientists and those of us who are trying to share science with the world. And Dr. Plate and Dr. Oluseyi had a really great response of saying, well, one, the internet is very important in spreading the knowledge, yay. But mostly, number 2 was to be passionate about the topic. And as someone who has been called very enthusiastic and perky about so many things, it was super encouraging to have someone say, no, you should be excited about this all the time and show that enthusiasm because it's catching. And it's so true. I mean, how many times have you been sitting there in front of a lecture hall with someone that you're like, oh, even it could be the most interesting topic to you in the world, but if they're just sitting there droning on and on, you just tune out. Versus, having someone who's a speaker that's, no matter if there was one person or 1,000 people in the room, they're going to have just as much enthusiasm for that topic, and their passion shows through. And it's so true. If you have passion for that topic, you can get anybody to listen, and hopefully you can then form a dialogue and teach each other things about whatever you're passionate about. And for me, I'm passionate about science. I said, it's been a struggle, but I identify myself as a scientist. I can finally say with confidence, I am a scientist. And now I'm trying to work on that identity of saying, I am a science communicator. And that's kind of where this whole video blog came from. It came from the idea of eventually transitioning into a science show where I talk about all those random thoughts that cross my brain, which a majority of the random thoughts are some type of scientific inquiry, and then sharing my research and what I learned about those topics with other people, and hopefully sparking their own questions and wanting to learn about whatever topic it is. So thank you so much, Dr. Oluseyi and Dr. Plate, for coming to FIT and giving your talk. And personally want to thank you for inspiring me, not just my question, but inspiring me with your talk in general about being a better science communicator. And also super big thanks for doing that whole intro thing. That was like way beyond my expectations of like, it was perfect. It was beautiful. Yes, this is why they pay you the big bucks and why you're super famous and so cool. So on that note, I guess on the topic of trying to get people to embrace their inner scientists, I will leave you with a quote by another famous person who, kind of talked about relativity, one of the other topics of our evening, Albert Einstein, and talking about how important it is to embrace your inner scientist, as I said. So, to quote, "The important thing is not to stop questioning. Curiosity has its own reason for existing. One cannot help but be in awe when he contemplates the mysteries of eternity, of life, of the marvelous structure of reality. It is enough if one tries merely to comprehend a little of this mystery every day. Never lose a holy curiosity." Keep on sciencing, people. Till next time.
Hey, so one more thing before I put this blog post to rest. Just want to apologize to Dr. Plate and Dr. Oluseyi for literally blinding you with the light when you filmed the little intro for me. I wish I could say I blinded you with science instead. Oh god, that was really bad. It's also about 5 o'clock in the morning right now, because I got so excited about the blog post that I wanted to edit it, and now I can't sleep because I have too many thoughts running in my brain. So, and those include terrible puns based on 80s songs. So I guess I should try to actually sleep before I work in the morning at like 8. Alright, subscribe button. Thanks.